Hey gang, Jake here. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet have taken the world by storm, and whether you like it or not, they've definitely had their impact on the franchise. These games, despite all of the stability issues and the bugs, have become some of the fastest selling games of all time, and the Paldea region and all of her inhabitants have wormed their way into the hearts of millions of people, including mine. It's unfortunate, then, that I don't know how kind timing will be to these games when it comes to joining Smash. Even if we do get another game after Ultimate, I'm willing to gamble it'll be a few years down the line, and by then I absolutely would not be shocked if Pokemon was already on Generation 10 or even 11. But the whole premise of this little series we've got going is what ifs, and we relish in the hypotheticals of what could be. So today, we're going to discuss one potential route for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet to be represented in Super Smash Bros. But before we begin, we've got one big question to answer. Who is the new Pokemon for Smash? The Paldea region has given us dozens of options, but today we're only picking one, mostly because I don't have time to pitch a Pokemon trainer. As for who that should be, I've got a certain trick up my sleeve for deciding.
Who's that Pokemon?
That's right, for today's pitch, we're covering the magician Pokemon, Meowscarada. This flora-focused feline has proven to be one of the most popular new Pokemon of this generation, and in my humble opinion, they're the pick for a future Smash installment. I was a little hesitant picking yet another starter Pokemon, let alone a third Dark-type starter, but it's not my fault that they're the best of the trio whenever they show up, and I feel like starters remain a strong choice. Around 33% of anyone who plays Scarlet and Violet is bound to have an attachment to any one starter. And of the ones on display in Paldea, I think Meowscarada's body type and emphasis on misdirection gives them the edge over Skeledirge and Quaquaval. So, that misdirection and distraction is going to be the cornerstone of the moveset. Also, the new protagonist of the Pokemon anime has a Sprigatito as her starter, so it's going to be the obvious popular pick. We're going to get into said moveset right away, but before we begin, I'd like to discuss two quick adjustments I want to see made to Pokemon's current representation before breaking into the actual pitch. First off, I'd love for Jigglypuff to get some alternate costumes based on Screamtail. I figured they'd function kinda like Olimar and Alf, where they each get 4 and maybe have some different cosmetic features, but mostly function exactly the same. Second, I'd like to discuss the way trainers are represented in Smash. Right now, nearly every Pokemon goes into battle without any sort of trainer to be seen, and while it's absolutely not required, I think it'd be a fun opportunity to add in a little more fan service. I don't really know which Pokemon are coming back for the next game, but for all of the currently playable Pokemon that don't already have a trainer, I'd like to see Elaine from Let's Go supporting Pikachu and Pichu, Akari from Legends Arceus supporting Lucario, Calum from X and Y supporting Greninja, the mysterious Masked Royal from Sun and Moon supporting Incineroar, and either Giovanni from Red and Blue, or nobody backing up Mewtwo. Lastly, for Meowscarada themselves, I'm actually going to opt for Nemona, the player's rival in Scarlet and Violet. She's pretty well liked by the fandom, and I think she'd fit in Smash Bros. Like a glove. With that out of the way though, let's get into the actual moveset. Meowscarada is the final evolution of Sprigatito, the grass-type starter for the Paldea region. It's a magician Pokemon that uses misdirection and sleight of hand to leave opponents open to powerful explosives, so I feel like a moveset that revolves around zoning out opponents and waiting for openings to use kill moves is a good fit. In Pokemon, Meowscarada actually has a very similar stat spread to Greninja, but here, we'll make it a little slower and similarly easy to launch for the sake of justifying some more powerful attacks. Meowscarada will be the spitting image of a glass cannon, dealing solid damage but struggling significantly whenever they're not on the offensive. For the neutral special, we'll give Meowscarada access to Flower Trick. Upon input, they'll produce a bouquet from behind them, which they'll hold and can be thrown at will. This functions similarly to Link's Bomb before Ultimate, although it is significantly stronger, so it's down to the player to make sure they don't end up in the blast zone. For the side special, we'll have Meowscarada summon an energy ball to slowly arc across the stage. This is similar to K. Rool's Blunderbuss, although it's a little bigger, lasts a little longer, and hits a little less hard. The down special will feature Meowscarada setting down some seeds to turn about a battlefield platform's distance of space around themselves into grassy terrain. From here, the player can re-input the special, and any opponent standing on this terrain will be Giga Drained, which will damage them, slightly heal Meowscarada, and dissipate this terrain. Lastly, the up special will have Meowscarada produce a storm of leaves around themselves, launching them into the air and damaging opponents on either side of them, but providing a pretty weak amount of recovery. For the side smash, we'll use Dark Pulse. Meowscarada will charge up a blast of energy, before slamming a ball of darkness and leaves forwards that explodes immediately. The down smash will be a variant of Vine Whip, with vines whipping out of the ground on either side of Meowscarada. For the up smash, we'll use Grass Pledge, and have a pillar of plant life lurch out of the ground and send opponents flying. For the Nair, we'll have Meowscarada surround themselves on both sides with a whirlwind of leaves and darkness. For the Fair, we'll have them use Shadow Claw for a slow but powerful slash. The Bear will have them throw out a Rose, which will explode on contact with the enemy. The Dare involves dropping a Seed Bomb, which explodes a ways underneath Meowscarada similar to Hard Knuckle. And the up air has Meowscarada borrow Florigado's Cactus Yo-Yo for an upwards whip similar to Simon and Richter. For the neutral attack, we'll have Meowscarada whip up a twister of leaves and darkness that acts as a rapid jab. The side tilt will have Meowscarada slash forward with the usual grassy effect, and the down tilt has them command a grass knot to appear in front of them and trip up the opponent. For the up tilt, Meowscarada throws up a similar flower flashbang to their bear, and the dash attack references Trailblaze by having them slash forward with dizzying speed and grassy claws. For the grab, we'll have Meowscarada use Florigado's Yo-Yo for a tether. The forward and backwards throws will have Meowscarada shove the opponent, tripping them up at the same time and planting a flower bomb on their chest or back, which goes off as they tumble to the ground. The down throw has a vine shoot out of the ground, grab the opponent by the torso, and slam them downwards. The up throw has the same vine grab the opponent by the leg and whip them upwards instead. For the taunts, we'll use some cheap tricks to land some cheap shots and reference Meowscarada's magician background. The up taunt will feature a yo-yo trick, with a twist. If an opponent gets enamored and comes too close, they'll find that the yo-yo is an active hitbox and explodes on contact. For the side taunt, we'll have Meowscarada produce a small cactus, then make it disappear. And for the down taunt, we'll have them throw out some jazz hands to round out their set. Speaking of rounding up the set, let's talk about Meowscarada's final smash, Ultimate Tera Blast. This has Meowscarada send vines across the stage beneath them, ensnaring opponents and holding them captive, while Nemona throws out a Tera Orb, terastallizing Meowscarada. Meowscarada then throws out a massive bouquet about half of Battlefield's distance from them, and uses Tera Blast to push opponents into the bouquet, which explodes in a massive blast right as the first opponent makes contact. Meowscarada is then unterastallized and the fight continues. For the victory animations, I've really only got one I want in particular, but I'd love to see Meowscarada perform one final trick by making both Nemona and themselves disappear. Speaking of Nemona, for alternate costumes, I would love tons of references to the series' rivals and their most iconic Pokemon. The default would give Nemona her Naranja Academy shorts and her Yuva Academy tie, but her other alts would reference Blue and Blastoise, Silver and Typhlosion, Wally and Gallade, N and Zoroark, Serena and Delphox, Hau and Decidueye, and Hop and Zamazenta. For a stage to rep Scarlet and Violet, I'm gonna have to pick Mesagoza, the city that's home to the school the player attends. This battlefield is obviously super important to the game, and it's the perfect place for a round of Smash Brothers. I'd love to see characters like Penny, Arven, Geeta, and the Paldea region's trainers and Team Star captains make cameos. And you could even have certain Pokemon like Arven's Mabostiff, Penny's Sylveon, and Geeta's Glamora cause stage hazards that impact the flow of battle. When it comes to music, Scarvi has one of the best soundtracks Pokemon has seen to date, so this one's surprisingly easy, but if I missed any, feel free to let me know. The Paldea region is home to tons of iconic Pokemon, and there's no shortage of picks for great Pokeball assists. There's plenty that deserve discussion, and I may talk about more later on, but for now, I'd like to discuss my personal favorite, Tinkaton. Upon being summoned, Tinkaton would walk over to the nearest opponent, and assuming they get to the opponent before disappearing, they'd grab them and slam them upwards with Gigaton Hammer for a practically guaranteed Star KO. From here, the effect would depend on how many players are in the match. If the player who summoned Tinkaton is in a 1v1, we'll see a Corviknight dive bomb behind the stage, similar to Samus's gunship after Ridley's final smash. However, if there is another opponent on stage, the Corviknight will crash into their position, and they'll have to dodge unless they want to take massive damage too. Collectibles have always been in a sort of weird place for Pokemon and Smash. For some reason, ever since Melee, the Smash games have been really light on human characters in terms of trophies, And if there were ever a region to change that with, it's definitely Paldea. Characters like Arven, Penny, Gita, Larry, and Iono absolutely deserve to appear as trophies or spirits of some sort, and it'd be a huge missed opportunity if they don't in the next game. Other than human characters though, it'd also be dope to see collectibles for Miraidon, Koraidon, Cerulege, Armarouge, the Paldean starters, Goldengo, and all the other Pokemon I've mentioned so far. To round out the pitch, let's discuss a potential boss from the Pokemon games. Honestly, I think I can name like 7 different Pokemon off the top of my head that I'd love to throw down with in Smash, but I don't think Paldea's got just one that I'd pick, so instead, I'm gonna go with a character you might not expect. Volo, from Pokemon Legends Arceus. This fight would be an absolute gauntlet, testing the player's endurance by forcing them through 3 phases. The first would have the player face Volo's team, with Garchomp acting as the punching bag and the other 5 providing support with projectiles and attacks that shift the terrain. The second would pit the player against Giratina's Distortion form, in which the Renegade Pokemon would mostly just observe you, while it throws out massive physical attacks. If you make it through both phases, in one last desperate ploy, Giratina will access its Origin form, and the player will be forced to bob and weave through an onslaught of both massive physical attacks and threatening projectiles. This fight would be one of the toughest in the game, but it would be a super rewarding experience for players who finally beat Giratina and take on Volo. And that's about all I've got. I want to thank you guys for watching. This was a really fun pitch to work on, so I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I know Scarlet and Violet are a hot topic right now, so let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm sorry this video took so long to get made, but with college ramping up, I kinda had to put the channel on the back burner. It's officially summer though, and I'm excited to get back into the swing of things. I hope I see you guys around. Lastly, I want to give a shout out to BirdKeeperToby. He loaned me the footage from Legends Arceus, and I super appreciate it. If you've ever delved into Pokemon YouTube before, you've probably found your way to his channel, but if you haven't and you're interested in the lore and theorization of the Pokemon multiverse, his channel will be linked in the description and the card. All that said, I'm gonna go play some Zelda. Peace out.